The mics are on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Tuesday, October 24th, 2017. We are in the Commission chambers. It is 4 p.m. and I call the Fire Rescue District Governing Body meeting to order. Present are Commissioner Luke, Mayor Yates, Commissioner McDowell, Commissioner Hanks, City Attorney Slayton, Assistant City Manager Schultz, and Patsy Atkins, City Clerk, and our Deputy Clerk, Pito. Also, Chief Bestbier is here as well. Just a reminder about putting the cell phones on silent, which I will do because I forgot. So, and if you're able to, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Commissioner McDowell.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Seeing we have no members of the public here, we don't have any.
Easy deduction.
Yeah. All right. First thing we're going to do is I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Which one, Mayor?
We are on the fire rescue.
So moved.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Luke to approve the agenda as presented, seconded by Commissioner Hanks. City Clerk, voting screen, please. And please vote.
Oops, I'm sorry. Try again.
Try again. And that is approved 4-0. Okay, item number 2, we don't have any public comment, so moving on to item number 3, public hearings. This is item number 3A, ordinance number 2017-42. This is a first reading, amending the fiscal year 2016-17 Fire Rescue District budget. I need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner McDowell to read ordinance number 2017-42 by title only, seconded by Commissioner Luke. Please vote. And that is approved 4-0. City Clerk, please read the ordinance by title only.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Ordinance number 2017-42, an ordinance of the City of Northport, Florida, amending the Fire Rescue District budget for fiscal year 2016-17 by providing for supplemental appropriations in the amounts identified in Exhibit A, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you, City Clerk. Schultz.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a ordinance to amend the last fiscal year's budget for the Fire Rescue District in an amount of $220,000. It accounts for some overages or shortages, as they say, that they incurred with their vehicles as a result of staff shortages in having to outsource more than they expected. We do have staff here to answer any questions if you have any additional questions on this.
Okay. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Okay. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we move ordinance number 2017-42 on to the second reading.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner McDowell to continue ordinance number 2017-42 to the November 28, 2017 Fire Rescue District Governing Body meeting for second reading, seconded by Commissioner Luke. Discussion?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Luke, anything?
No.
Okay. I'll just make a comment that it'll apply to some of the other budget amendments we're seeing, but also the Hurricane Irma funding, and that's a process that we'll be going through and getting reimbursed, hopefully. from.
Maybe years later.
Well, let's hope that it's not that long, but I just, for public purposes, I just wanted to add that, we'll be recouping those monies.
Thank you for doing that.
All right, seeing nothing else, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda, item number 4. Anybody want to pull anything on these?
Mayor, no surprise, but I would like to pull B and C.
Okay. And I'm ready for a motion, hearing nobody else has anything.
I move that we accept on the consent agenda letter A and D.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Luke to approve the consent agenda items A and D, pulling items B and C for discussion, and that is seconded by Commissioner McDowell. Okay, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. All right, that moves us on to item number 4B. This is for the single source purchase of Pierce Manufacturing replacement ladder truck from 10-8 Fire Equipment of Bradenton, Florida, in the budgeted amount of $857,113. Mr. Schultz.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request to utilize Pierce Manufacturing as a single source to purchase an approved fire vehicle. Actually, it's a replacement ladder truck in an approved budget amount of $857,113. Staff is here available for any questions.
Okay. Questions? And just let the record reflect that Vice Mayor Carasone is here. Commissioner McDowell, go ahead.
I just have a few questions. I don't know if it's, maybe this assistant city manager can answer them, or if we need staff, but I'll start. I'm curious about the replacement. Has anybody done an analysis about refurbishing it versus replacing it?
We'll let Assistant Chief address it.
Scott Titus, Deputy Fire Chief for Fire Rescue District. In front of us and in your package right here, in response to your question, no, we do not have that information available. However, over the past 10 years, I've been deeply and intimately involved with our vehicle replacements. We have done investigations and looked at refurbishments. And it actually is one of the things we are considering possibly in the future for our ambulances, because our new boxes are made out of aluminum. So to re-chassis them may be an option. The departments that we've talked to in the past, one of the closest departments, Sarasota County, who has done 2 major re-chassis, they've been problematic. NFPA recommends 10-year frontline for fire apparatus. It's the National Fire Protection Association. And then 5 to 7 years as a backup as needed, depending on how hard that vehicle has run. We are beyond that. We try and stretch where we can based upon mileage, based upon the records we get with fleet, how many repairs that we've had. We really do our best to try and stretch that. We are a year outside. When we bought our ladder trucks that we have right now, the 2 of them, they were sister vehicles. They were manufactured at the same time. We replaced one last year, and now this one this year. We tried to hold off. There are some savings to do them together, but we really couldn't justify over a year ago doing this. So the other thing, take into consideration, it's about a 10-month build time. So we still have to keep that truck on the road for another 10 months, and then it will, actually this particular one will be going away instead of going to reserve. We'll be keeping one of the other units as a reserve that's in reserve now. So I don't know if that answers completely to your question.
You said this one is going to go away. Does that mean it's going to be sold, try to be auctioned off?
Right now, we have it going to auction. One of the things I'm working on right now, and it may require a difference on how we do it, but there is an independent company sometimes that will do one of 2 things. They'll actually broker the vehicle for you, or sometimes they'll buy it outright. We'll be working on that to find out what is the best thing that we can do to get get the best amount of revenue back for that fire apparatus. And I say right now 71149, which is the vehicle we say that we're replacing. We always put that in our paperwork, but if we were to blow the motor on the other ladder truck and this one was salvageable for less money, we would try and keep it as a backup unit for a little bit longer. So it gives us a little bit of flexibility. But the intention is based upon our discussions with Fleet, looking at records over time. We feel pretty strongly this is the one that probably will go away.
Do you happen to know the resale value on this? Of course, I'm not going to hold it to you, just an idea.
I don't, but I can tell, it's shocking. It's shocking. So fire trucks resale, fire trucks, fire engines, there's a difference between aerials and engines. Typically what you see, there's a huge drop off at about the 7-year mark based on mileage and years. Up until they're about 7 years old, you can get pretty decent value back on them, sometimes 50, 60%, it really depends how good a shape that it's in. Once you go beyond that, it drops very, very quickly. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think our last engine that went away last year, I'm going to say we got $20,000 for it. I mean, it's yeah. A lot of the time, those apparatus, a lot of time they go to some of the third world countries. You know, they put a little bit of money into it, they refurbish them, and they send them to third world countries that don't have some of the safety standards and some of the laws that we have. Sometimes you'll get some of these independent fire truck manufacturing companies that will actually refurbish them and sell them to some of the volunteer departments that don't have a big budget, and they'll do some things that, and they don't sometimes adhere to what the NFPA standards are and some of those other things. So.
Since this, the existing fire truck that you want to replace, 2007, when was it actually placed in service?
I don't know if Fleet has it. I believe it was 2006.
So does the existing fire truck meet those NPFA standards that came out in 2009? Or is that one of the main reasons that you're replacing it?
Well, no. One of the reasons we're replacing it is our recommendation. So what we did years ago when we started looking at capital acquisitions and looking at replacement over time, we looked at what National Fire Protection Association recommends, which is 10 years front line. We took that in balance with how many miles it goes on, how many calls it goes on, what type of shape that they're in. And really what we came up to and with was there's a huge breakover point for us too when we get to that 9th or 10th year as far as maintenance costs and everything else. So we kind of fall right in line with what that national recommendation is. And so when, and actually Mayor Yates was kind of instrumental, helped us when we first started looking at this. And what I did was I did a 25-year spreadsheet on what we have now, what the current value was, and what it would be on into the future, what the replacement values would be, and that's kind of how we built the program. We have kind of stuck to that model, but if we have a year come up, and we've done it several times, a year come up when something doesn't need to be replaced, we really try not to. We try and stretch those purchases, but as I said, you know, once you go beyond that first year for that 10 years front line, you're really getting into issues of the fire pumps often need to be rebuilt, you know, and you can be in $15,000, $20,000 repair right there. Engines that need to be rebuilt, and then all the other things just associated to go with it, just downtime and reliability become an issue.
I have one question. I'll save it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, that was it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I move that we approve consent agenda item B.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Luke to approve the consent agenda item B, seconded by Vice Mayor. Commissioner Luke, do you have any? Comments?
Sounds like they did a really good job stretching that thing, and hopefully it stretches another 10 months.
Vice Mayor?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Seeing no other discussion, please vote.
Did you vote, Commissioner Hanks, or was? I wanted to make sure I hadn't messed it up.
That was fast. I was like lightning speed.
And that is approved 5-0. All right, and now we're going to take up item number 4C. And this is for utilizing the State of Florida Department of Management Services motor vehicles contract to purchase one 2018 Ford F-150 and two Ford Explorers in the budget amount of $84,737.95 for the fire department. Mr. Schultz.
Well, I think the title
title?
explains it all. To utilize the state contract to purchase 3 vehicles, approved vehicles for the fire department in the approved budgeted amount of $84,737.95. And just to let you know, those are 2 2018 Ford Explorers.
Okay.
Staff's available for any questions.
All right, very good. Commissioner McDowell?
I just have one question. I know that during the budget process, the fire department requested to replace, they requested to purchase a reserve vehicle for their staff so that if there was a vehicle in for repair. I'm curious if any of these replacement vehicles could fill that role instead of purchasing a new one. I know that it was denied to purchase a new one. I'm just wondering if maybe one of these vehicles that you're looking to get rid of could fill that role, since it is only a as-needed basis.
Short answer, or? Go ahead.
And Monica may speak more to it, but what I can tell you is one of those vehicles is a Ford Escape. It's Division Chief Berman's vehicle. The battery replacement on that vehicle alone, which is going bad right now, is over $8,000. So we really think that while the battery is still good before it goes completely bad, the best way to get money out of that is to let it go. And the other vehicle is, if you remember, we did keep one vehicle as reserve that used to be the fire chief's vehicle. It was deemed to be unsafe for highways. We had a lot of brake problems with it. We kept it for in-town use for the short term, and the compromise was we would keep it through this fiscal year, but we would replace it, and that is for the fire marshal's position. We kind of downgraded it, so we have run it in city, and but not out on the highway, not out of state anywhere, and not at any significant speeds to get us through this past budget year until now. So hopefully that answers your question.
There was a third vehicle, the F-150, or was that the?
Yeah, I'm sorry, those were the 2 Explorers. The third one is a pickup truck, and that is for one of the inspectors. And I think the vehicle itself is just not in great shape. And it really couldn't be, I don't think it could be utilized for what we were looking for, and what we had requested was a staff vehicle for, that could be used for emergency staff, that we could use for incident command and stuff like that. The pickup truck it doesn't have the capacity to do that. It doesn't have the room to put the equipment, the people, and all the other things in, and it is in pretty poor repair too, I believe.
Just trying to fill the need that you guys had at budget time. That's all.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I have 2 questions, since the item was pulled. On that Escape, the one with the battery issue, and that's, is that a hybrid or?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I see in the backup it says that the battery costs $10,000, but I also see that there's another agenda item that you have to re-equip and label and put the decals and all that, and that's about $10,000. So it's almost a wash. So my question is, on the rest of the components of this vehicle, are there issues with it aside from the battery?
Well, just the appearance alone. I don't drive this vehicle, and maybe Monica can speak more to it, but I can tell you, if we were to keep this vehicle, it does need to be completely redone. The striping is, there's cracks and holes in it. It looks, I'm actually a little bit embarrassed that we're still driving around town, because it doesn't represent what I think our fire department should.
And what is it used for?
I'm sorry?
What is the vehicle used for? Like, what use does
Division
it
Chief
have?
Berman's vehicle. He's driving that right now. So.
Oh, that explains that. He goes and, okay, I got it. He's everywhere and checking things out, and so that's easy to understand with that kind of use. And was that vehicle ever in an accident? Do you know? No? Okay, there was an outsourced charge of like over $5,000, so wasn't sure if there was some other issue.
I think there has been some repetitive issues with it. I don't know if Monica can speak to that, or Chief Berman may actually probably remembers what it is, because he's driving it.
I just didn't know with that kind of a charge, whether it was from mechanical things or if it was more from, you know,
And
accidents.
Commissioner, one of the things that I'm a pretty frugal guy, and when we work with Fleet, we really look at all these things, and certainly we appreciate the due diligence when you all look at these things and ask these questions. There's a breakover period for when you get into apparatus and into vehicles where at one point in time, what you say is, well, $10,000, it looks like it could be a wash, and the reality is that the surface it really does. But when you take into some consideration some of the other things about the wear and tear on the vehicle, the reliability, the downtime, and some of the other issues, I promise you, we look very, very closely at these, and if there's an opportunity for us to save money, to drive apparatus that's still reliable and to keep it, we take those opportunities.
And we appreciate that, and I know we have confidence that the staff is doing as much as they can to maximize the utilization of our vehicles. On its surface, like you mentioned, and when the public's looking at this information, these are the type things that come up, and I think it's very good for them to hear those questions and
absolutely.
answers,
Thank you.
and the due diligence that's being done by staff. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I move to approve consent agenda 4C.
A motion by Commissioner Luke to approve item number 4C, seconded by Vice Mayor. And seeing no discussion, please vote. And that is approved 4-1 with Commissioner McDowell dissenting. Did you want to state reasons?
I really feel that until we get this study done, as far as the way that these vehicles are scored, that maybe we should just hold off on replacing some of these vehicles until that can be done and looked into in greater detail, because a couple of these vehicles, one of them I totally understand needs to be replaced, but the other two, I don't see it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to, we have item number 5. We have no public comment, so commissioners, anything? Seeing nothing. All right. And seeing nothing else then, we are adjourned.
And it is 4:23.
Thank you. Good evening again. We are still in the Commission chambers. It is Tuesday, October 24th, 2017. It is 4:23, and I call the Road and Drainage District Governing Body meeting to order. Present are Commissioner Hanks, Commissioner McDowell, Mayor Yates, Vice Mayor Carousel, Commissioner Luke, City Clerk Atkins, Deputy Clerk Pito, City Attorney Slayton, and Assistant City Manager Scholl. Also, Chief Vespier is with us as well. Hopefully your phones are still on silent. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor to approve the agenda as presented, seconded by Commissioner Luke. Please vote. And that is approved 5-0. Okay, item number 2, public comment. We still have no public comment cards, so we are moving on to item number 3A for ordinance number 2017-35, and I need a motion to read ordinance by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner McDowell to read ordinance number 2017-35 by title only, seconded by Commissioner Luke. Please vote. And that is approved 5-0. City Clerk, would you please read the ordinance by title only?
Yes, ma'am. Ordinance number 2017-35, an ordinance of the City of Northport, Florida, amending the Road and Drainage District budget for fiscal year 2016-17 by providing for supplemental appropriations in the amounts identified in Exhibit A, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you, City Clerk. Ms. Schultz?
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. This is a budget amendment for last fiscal year's budget for road and drainage. It's requested to funding for additional amount for the construction of crosswalks and sidewalks along Biscayne Drive, and also to provide funding for our recent debris management and monitoring as a result of Hurricane Irma. I do know that this has been several questions raised on this topic, so I do have staff available to do a presentation if you would like it.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, we discussed, along with the Biscayne Drive improvements, when we added to that, we discussed a overall crosswalk study, something for Pan American. And I believe it also included maybe Northport Boulevard. I really can't remember. So my point is, where are we on that? Where is that study? Because my concern is we're doing the budget adjustment now. Are we going to have to do another one? And wait, is this, what am I doing here? I'm taking not enough. So where are we on that Pan American study specifically? And I know that we're running into some issues with the crosswalk with the health department area. Maybe we can kind of go through for the public what that issue is specifically, because we've received a lot of emails and conversation, and while we're privy to it, many people are not, so.
Okay,
Twofold, sorry.
that's okay. For the record, Juliana Balia, Public Works Director. In regard to the first question about where are we at with the crosswalks, the study. On October 6th, I met with our new Engineering Division Manager, Jerry Traverso, and the first directive was to have 2 crosswalks put in at Hyde Park and Biscayne, south side of Sydney and Biscayne. And of course, this is going to be, this is before the commission today, so we will be addressing that today. The next directive was to move forward with requirements necessary to add a sidewalk to the north segment north of Sydney to South Hyde Park on the east side. That is before the commission today as well. The next directive was approved to direct staff to check into adding a crosswalk for the south side of US 41 access road known as Tamiami Trail across Biscayne. Mr. Traverso will be conducting an engineering study in-house himself on that, and I will be coming back to the commission. I'm hoping to be back on November 28th at our Road and Drainage District meeting with the results of that study. Next was the crosswalk study for the entire roadway of Pan American up to Biscayne, Pan American intersection, and the entire roadway of Biscayne south of I-75. Again, Mr. Traverso will be doing an in-house engineering study, and I should have the results of that at the November 28th meeting. With respect to the 2 crosswalks, one is on Outreach Way. We have reached out to the property owner because the property that we have to go across of the actual roadway is private. We have sent a letter asking the property owner for permission to construct that crosswalk. We have developed a site plan and pricing and so forth on that. So once we have the permission of the property owner, we will proceed. I am going to reach back out to the property owner because I have not heard for follow-up to find out if they are interested in allowing the city to do that.
So here's
And
my
then-
question on,
oh, sorry.
are you,
Oh, there was going to be another piece.
Go ahead.
Then the last piece is the portion, the crosswalk that goes to the new SCAT bus stop. And this just came up, and we will proceed accordingly to get, to accommodate that as well.
was that the SCAT stop at the health department?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
ma'am, at the health department, correct.
Because
Cross Pan American.
It's on the
Right.
west side, yeah. So we will also take a look at that crosswalk, do everything in-house for that.
That's
Okay.
on Pan
We'll have to design it and,
Yeah, it's on Pan American.
construct
Well,
it.
It'll be across the street from Social Service Building.
Social
in
Service
that
Building,
corner where everybody
and
is right now?
Yes, yes, ma'am, and then go to the new SCAT bus stop,
Okay.
Pan
Oh,
Am and
you're gonna,
Outreach Way, basically.
yes,
so it'll be across the street, like,
like across Pan American.
Okay, where the bus stop is now,
Correct,
Correct.
right?
correct. Yes, ma'am.
They're building
Is
the
there-
pad right now, but I think they've already got the pad in, and they're gonna put a
Yes.
I didn't
shelter
see it
in.
this morning. I was there twice today, so
Yes,
I didn't,
where
I
they're-
didn't see it, honest to goodness.
Where they're constructing it, we would
My bad.
construct a crosswalk from the health department and the city building across Pan American to meet up with the bus stop, the SCAT bus stop.
So here's my question.
Okay,
When we talked about a crosswalk,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about a crosswalk in that particular area. So where is this private property that's becoming an issue?
on Outreach Way, we were asked to take a look at installing a crosswalk going from the city complex building, social services, over to the health department.
Oh.
Outreach Way is not.
Is really,
owned-
like a driveway rather than a public roadway.
Owned by Quality Healthcare?
Charlotte Holdings, something, yeah, it's another company.
Oh, Mankey? Old Mankey?
I don't think so. I don't
Maybe
think
it's,
so.
maybe it's Fullenkamp.
But it's not a public roadway, it's actually
where we got
more of a driveway with a named driveway, so we have to have permission from the property owner
I see
to
what you're
construct that.
saying now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, okay, when we talked about crosswalks, and I know we were kind of all over the place.
Right.
My vision of crosswalk was going to be on Pan American, going from, not only, from city building to health department,
Right.
but also from health department to the SCAT area. So what you're saying is now that is going to be taken care of,
Yes, ma'am,
and that's not a problem.
correct. Yes,
That'll
ma'am,
be
that is
all in the
correct.
SCAT, but it's the question of going from health department to city, social services.
Yes, ma'am,
That's
because
the
we have
issue.
to cross private roadway
Right.
rather than a public roadway, and we have to have property owner's permission.
So where we planted the trees, that's not their property, that's our property, correct?
Yes, that's
Right?
correct. Yes.
Okay. But the solid road is
Yes, ma'am.
there.
The actual roadway, which it's more like a driveway, but it's used
It's
as a
road,
roadway.
yeah.
Yes, that is private property.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
City attorney. Hi. Isn't that public use? Isn't that something that could be eminent domained?
Yeah, potentially. It sounds like it.
Here's my concern. This is not going to be the first time we have to deal with this property owner, and it hasn't been. It's been an issue for years and years, and I personally think it's something that we need to look at, especially if we're going to create this one-stop shop concept that was started in 2002. So, I'll wait till the end of this to maybe get some direction for information, and I think my questions are done.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Commissioner McDowell?
All right, so wanting to get a breakdown of this $168,000, staff provided that this budget amendment does not include the bicycle lane striping that is mentioned in the legislative text.
Yes.
That,
Excuse me. Yes, ma'am, that is correct. That was an error on our part.
okay, so the $168,000 that you're asking for is going to increase the total amount of the budget amendment to 1.243, blah, blah, blah.
542, yes, ma'am.
City Attorney, I know that Exhibit A is changing. Will we have to go back to a new first reading for Exhibit A, since it's changed?
Can I just ask that maybe get everybody else up to speed on what you're talking about? The figures we have here is $1,218,904. You're saying that's been changed?
I was advised, I had asked staff for a breakdown of what all of the budget amendment relating to the 168,904 for Biscayne improvements included. And I wanted to know how much of it was for striping, how much of it was for sidewalk, how much was it for, and that's when I found out in the note that they gave me that it did not include the bike lane striping and that there was an error, and they were going to ask us to consider this amount in the budget amendment.
Mr. Schultz.
Commissioner McDowell is correct. There should have been a request made for an additional $24,000 to address that bicycle lane striping, so that we would be bringing it back at the next reading with the total amount to include that $24,000. That would be changing. However, the title of the budget amendment is not changing, so I do not believe, but we'll get the
I was
legal
just
opinion.
concerned because in the title it says Exhibit A, and Exhibit A changed by almost $25,000, and that's why I'm concerned. I just want to make sure.
But we
don't
have a second reading. That's the key.
Yeah.
City attorney.
This will not affect the process. I can move to second reading with a change to Exhibit A.
Okay, so second reading will reflect the actual new total,
The correct total.
the correct new total, okay.
Which is what?
Yeah, thank you. What is the correct new total?
1,243,542.
1, 2, 4, 3.
542. Right?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And I don't think the rest of the commission got anything about that
Nope.
addition, so.
I mean, it could have came in an email today. I didn't look, honestly.
Yeah.
It did not. I asked them to address it at this meeting, at this
With the
presentation.
presentation, gotcha.
Okay.
I got you now.
All right, so thank you for getting that clarified and on the record so my fellow commissioners have the same information. When you're talking about the segment east of Biscayne, and thank you for the map, this area from Hyde Park to Sydney, this red area, is that included in this new total?
Yes, ma'am. On the red, which we're bringing up Sydney, going all the way across adjacent to Biscayne. Yes, ma'am, that sidewalk is in the total,
That's
168,000.
exactly why I needed to know what was this $168,000 for, because I couldn't see just putting in these crosswalks and the striping costing that much money. I didn't understand that this is including that new sidewalk.
Yes, ma'am. The $168,904, $147,175 includes the sidewalk, which is in the red, going up Sydney Avenue and then adjacent to Biscayne. It includes stormwater drainage pipe and 2 driveway replacements, which are over in this area. We have a driveway replacement, and over in this area, and a stormwater pipe underneath. Those are adjacent to a couple of residences. And the crosswalk striping and signage and ADA mats is $13,629, and the contingency of $8,100. And your crosswalks are right here on just below Sydney Avenue, and then also by Hyde Park Avenue. And then as you enter, you have, of course, in the red, there's a little red line here on either side. That's where your ADA mats are located. The piping. Oh, excuse me. Also on the cross streets, the ADA mats as well as the striping.
So
And
this-
that's on Hyde Park and Sydney.
So this crosswalk at Sydney, is that part of this 168?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, now we've got another question.
Okay.
Because, okay, does it include the crosswalk over at Hyde Park?
Yes, ma'am. It includes all of that.
Okay, so the Hyde Park is included with this 168,
Yes, ma'am.
and Sydney is included with this 168?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so help me understand,
Okay.
because on the April 2017 meeting, the proposed crosswalk at Hyde Park, there will be no impact on the curbing project. It will require minimal additions, and the $2,800 for that is a change order. So did you issue a change order in April, and now you're wanting more? I need to get some clarification. And if you need to see the notes from the legislative text from April, I have it.
Okay.
For the record, Ben Newman, Public Works. When this issue was brought up at the April meeting, the one crosswalk on the north side of Hyde Park across Biscayne Drive, for that amount we could afford to do a change order with contingencies. But then when the commission further directed staff to add the sidewalk that was missing on the east side of Biscayne between Sydney and Hyde Park Street, and the crosswalk on the south side of Sydney at Biscayne Drive, when we got into the design and added things needed, such as storm drainage piping and structures, the additional ADA mats, and then we noticed some missing crosswalks on the west side of Biscayne Drive between Hyde Park Avenue and Sydney Avenue. When we started to total all that up and negotiated the cost with the contractor, we just added the crosswalk across Biscayne Drive on the north side of Hyde Park Avenue in this budget amendment request. Because of the amount of the total cost for everything was greatly exceeded what we had in contingencies.
And if I may interject as well, what Mr. Newman's talking about is just to put the actual striping in is one thing. But when you start looking at your piping and all those other amenities necessary to make it all work, that's where you have your costs.
Okay, I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but the April meeting for Hyde Park crosswalk said that there would be a change order for the $2,800. And now you're saying that it's that $2,800, I'm interpreting it as that $2,800 change order is not a change order now?
No, that's correct.
I'm
Yes, ma'am, you are correct. If it was just a matter of putting in striping and nothing else, we may have been able to just do an administrative change order. But because there's so much other work involved with it, we had to actually do a contract amendment and bring it back to the commission.
For Hyde Park?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, because you have all the
I'm sorry, I
striping.
didn't see anything
For
like
everything.
striping at Hyde Park. What was added at Hyde Park besides the striping?
You have pipe, got no pipe going in there, don't you?
No, just some very minor concrete for the sidewalk to go out to where the crosswalk comes across at the edge of the pavement of Biscayne Drive. And that was the only thing for that particular item, the crosswalk across Biscayne Drive at Hyde Park Avenue.
Right.
And we did not proceed with a change order to the contractor for that work, since we were working on all of these other items
Right.
at the commission's direction, with the missing sidewalk on the east side of Biscayne Drive, and then all of the associated stormwater structures and piping that were needed at that intersection of Sydney and Biscayne Drive to make that happen, and the crosswalks at that intersection. And then another street on the west side of Biscayne Drive, adding a missing crosswalk there with the ADA mats.
Mr. Schultz?
Yeah, I think it's easily answered by stating that rather than issuing the change order just for the striping, they've now incorporated that with all the other requests and are doing one amendment to cover all the requested changes.
So you didn't issue?
We never issued the change order. It's being incorporated with the rest of the work, so it's considered one project, and we are amending the contract to address all the changes that have been requested, or all the additions, crosswalks and sidewalks and everything.
And I noticed that the striping at Hyde Park is already completed. There's a crosswalk at Hyde Park. I don't remember if I saw one at Sydney. Is that correct? I thought it was done.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Is it? I couldn't answer that.
That we'll have to
question.
check. We'll have to
Fairly
check.
quick after the commission meeting, and
Yeah.
we're already up with the signs and
Yeah,
they
the
put up
sign, thank you.
signs
I
and
did see
stuff like that.
signs.
I thought it was a temporary, though. I thought it was like a temporary crosswalk. There was signs, there was,
That was like really quick after our
right,
meeting.
it was
that
like,
No, we
a-
didn't. No, I don't have to contact the board to check.
unless it's a.
We didn't.
It
We
was
didn't
like
issue it.
Biscayne
No.
and, Northport Boulevard.
Well, I know Northport Boulevard and
That's what it
Biscayne
was.
was done right away.
That's
But
what it
I
was.
thought I saw this done when I drove by there, but
Oh, I don't.
maybe it was wishful
We-
thinking.
That we'll have to check, but, yeah, that I don't know. Well, we will check, though.
Thank you very much for that clarification on the change order and this, and I appreciate the map to see exactly what's being done. And I'm glad there's going to be that sidewalk on the other side. Thank you.
You're welcome. I already told them.
Any other questions?
I do, I've got two simple ones. The sidewalk marked in red
Yes, ma'am.
is included in all of that.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is an adjustment for the same contractor?
Yes,
He's going
ma'am.
to do, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And for the, just a quick question, so for those crosswalks, it's not as simple as adding the paint on the ground. It's because of the ADA,
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
making sure that there's the compliance, and that's where these extra costs have come in.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing nothing else, then,
I'll move to, let me get this right here. Yeah. I lost my little cheat sheet.
Move to approve ordinance number 2017-35 to second reading.
Well,
We haven't
hold on.
changed
yeah,
amount.
you gotta change
Oh, I'm
the
sorry,
amount.
Yeah, there was,
That's why I was looking for my cheat sheet.
You want me to- since I have-
Move to approve,
Vice Mayor, go ahead.
move to continue ordinance number 2017-35 with the additional 24,000 needed, totaling up to $1,243,542 to the November 28th, 2017 Road and Drainage District governing body regular meeting for a second reading.
Second,
There.
All right.
unless somebody already seconded.
No, no. But, so the motion made as stated by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner McDowell. And so, I know in your motion on that, you had the total, so that's what we're going by, because it was
That's the
24.
total that was given us, right?
I know, I'm just pointing out the 24,000, it was 24,000 and change to accumulate.
Well, that's why, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just-
24,000 and change. That's
Right.
why I added the total in there. It's still 1.243
Right.
something.
Right,
Okay.
so that's the
Yep.
total, and I just want to know that we're all clear on that being what's
Are we
moving
clear?
Yes, ma'am. It's the $24,638 with the total of $1,243,542.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Vice Mayor, do you have
No.
anything? Commissioner Luke? I can't remember who seconded that. Commissioner McDowell? Do you have
I'm
anything?
fine.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. We talked that one out. We're ready to vote. And that is approved 5-0. Vice Mayor, you wanted
Yes.
to have some
I
direction
would like to
here?
get some consensus for the city attorney to bring back some information on the eminent domain process now, because it's changed since I was here,
Can I ask a question before
for
we do
Outreach
that?
Way. Well, yeah, go ahead.
My question on that is, city attorney, there was some other roadways that were private that for a period of time, or there, I don't know what you call it, but if for a period of time that the public uses it, that it automatically basically conveys, or that the
Well,
city
that's
has
the
rights to
problem.
it. So it's not necessarily the eminent domain, but there may be another avenue because of the many, many years that this outreach way has been used. So that's the only reason why
I
I'm
see
asking
what you're
that
saying. You're
question.
saying
It might-
that because you've used it for so many
Right.
years and it doesn't work. Go ahead.
City
I
attorney.
believe the statute you're referring to deals with the city's maintenance of the roadway. And if the city consistently and regularly maintains a roadway in an uninterrupted manner, then after 7 years, it's deemed to belong to the city.
Yeah, that's
So
one
haven't
part of
we
it, but it was the
maintained it?
public use, the public's ongoing use of property that after a period of time, I mean,
It's not that simple, Mayor. It's very fact intensive, so it will depend on exactly what the plat says, if there are any easements conferred there, if you're talking about a type of prescriptive use or adverse, adverse use. I mean, that's very fact intensive. But this statute deals with maintenance of the roadway.
I think there's also, that I know that there's a state statute that doesn't allow you to prevent someone from getting on or using their property, but I asked the past city attorney to look that up, but I never did get a response on that.
Could you repeat that? That prevents?
It's called, you're not,
It's so you don't become landlocked.
yes, it's to prevent landlocked. There's a state statute, or it could be it could be a federal law. I'm not sure which it is, but it says you can't landlock someone. So if there's an access point already provided, you can't.
Easement?
Well, just access point. So in other words, it doesn't say that you're not allowed to cross private property if it's your only access point to get to your private property. And I know that a law exists. Like I said, I asked the past attorney to find it, and I never got it. So maybe you can look at that as well as, because I agree, if there's other means, other ways that do not cost so much money, I'm all for it. So that's kind of why my consensus is to get the information, not just for eminent domain, but any means to gain access to this particular property.
Are you making a motion?
Well,
City
I'm
Attorney,
gonna,
did you have something else? No? Okay.
Commissioner McDowell has a question, and then I'll see if it's the will to have a motion or just a consensus.
Okay.
I mean, it's information, so it can be
We're
by
just asking
consensus.
for direction to the staff, so. Commissioner McDowell.
Do we maintain the road?
We do not. The last time that there was an issue on the road was about 7 years ago, that there was a hole that was by a water drain, a sewer cover. We contacted the owner. We ended up filling that, but we charged the owner for it. So
Did they
we
pay
really,
us?
as far as I know, they did. Yes,
Can you double check that to make sure there's not an
we can-
outstanding bill?
we will.
I'd appreciate it.
Yeah,
There's many times that we send an invoice
and
and
it never. You're right.
it's still floating out there.
So let me just,
Those two.
Commissioner McDowell, did you have anything else? So right now, at present, the private owner is taking care of maintaining that road. We've not had issues at all. They're taking care of it.
As far as I know, as long as I've been here, that's the only issue I'm aware of. So
As far as that hole. But
that hole, right?
But other than that, there's been a congenial relationship between the city and this particular owner of this property, right?
I don't know that we have any relationship at all with them. Other than the one letter we've sent them to get the crosswalk put in there.
Right. Okay.
I don't think they exist anymore. I think that's the problem.
Vice Mayor, so you want to summarize?
So, yeah, in summary, if we can get consensus to look at ways to possess this piece of property to prevent any further issues, whether it be by eminent domain or conveyance of some sort, be it even a protection of state statute or federal laws that prevent them from, for lack of a better term, keeping us off the property and maintaining it or improving its surface. But you get a general idea of what we're looking to do. And then, of course, all of those things would have to have information, but also the cost allocation with them. So if we were to have to go eminent domain route, then what is that cost and what's the process? Yeah, I know, I'm not talking about today. I know, it's gonna take you a little bit.
Tomorrow will be good, right?
It's probably gonna take more like a month, because
Hold on.
or
hold on.
more.
I want to make sure the
Oh,
city clerk
sorry.
has your consensus. Yes, ma'am. You have that? Okay.
Because I think not only are you gonna have to research the laws, I think you're gonna have to research with road and drainage what's actually been done.
Absolutely.
Maintenance-wise and maybe even neighborhood services. Because I know they do a lot of work over there on that roadway. So,
Okay. Commissioner
Consensus?
Luke? Yeah, we're going to see if we have a consensus here. So, Commissioner Luke, you have your line on.
The reason I put the light on is because I'm in full agreement with this consensus. We talked about it previously in another meeting. So it gives us safety if we're allowed to put a crosswalk across Outreach Way, but it still doesn't resolve the issue of parking. And so I just want to bring that forward again too, that as expeditiously as we can, to address the issue of parking. There is some parking going on in a no parking zone, which is unsafe for crossing at that point. And though it may be a no parking zone, it's still an issue of safety for our citizens. So we need to see if they're parking there maybe because it's convenient, it's the shortest distance from A to B, or if it legitimately isn't any, enough parking. And then what we can do, I know we're supposed to be putting something in behind our social service office, but I'd like to see maybe what some thinking or thought is on that. Thank you.
maybe we can get an update on that after we get consensus on this, because I have some
I was thinking of
questions of that as
the
well.
direction specifically to the staff, yeah.
Can we get this finished and then?
Right. Mr. Schultz,
Consensus
Please.
finished first?
Yeah.
I don't know what your comment was about.
I was
Okay.
just going to suggest that if we could bring this back and address it separately at a different time. We do have some information. This is not a problem that's been created by the city. So I'm not sure that your taxpayers are going to want to pay for a solution that is not created by us. So we can, if you allow us to put it on a future agenda, say the end of November agenda, to bring it back and address what we have, what we are doing, and where we might be able to go.
You're talking about the parking issue.
That's what I'm talking about, yes.
All right. Commissioner McDowell, your thoughts?
I'll wait for the parking one. Let's,
Yeah, can we
Okay,
get the consensus?
well, we're going,
before
yeah,
we
we're
get too
kind of going
confused here?
down the line with the consensus.
oh, yes, I'm all for getting information about taking ownership of the road and what might be involved with that and costs. Sure.
Commissioner Hanks? Yep. Okay. I'm all for getting the information, but I can't say that I'm 100% for taking the roadway, because right now, it is a private roadway. We haven't had issues. They are maintaining it. The public's not. The taxpayers are not. And I don't know that they are bucking at any idea for, a crosswalk or whatever thing. So I don't want to jump the gun at the public taxpayers taking on a private roadway that right now is being maintained and, not having, and would like to see if we can come up with solutions about the parking issue. So,
Exactly.
I'm fine with the
Again,
consensus.
yeah,
It's
I-
just bringing
yeah.
back the information, but I just
Bringing
wanted
back
to
the
share with you all that I'm not 100% on going the route of taking over this roadway.
And I do
So-
think that it's important, it's imperative that we get that information back from the city on whether we've done, because I will know more about the history of this roadway the maintenance, the repairs, have they paid the bill?
Right.
Because I got a funny feeling you're gonna be surprised with the actual outcome.
And that's why
So-
getting the information is good.
Yeah.
So City Clerk, we have a consensus on that. And now, I think we also want to take a consensus to have the city manager put an item at a commission meeting coming up, hopefully in November, to bring us information in regards to the parking issues.
Well,
What?
can't we just get a quick update on it?
It's not quick. I had a I had a conversation with Mr. Schultz. There's so much to this that,
The parking?
yes.
I thought that we had already budgeted for that, and that was already supposed to be
That's
in,
the education center.
yeah.
That's different. No, I'm talking about
Outreach way.
the issues that we're dealing with in regards to people
Parking on the right-of-way where they decided to put trees? That one?
that, and
Um,
what we can do to work with the county, the Department of Health. What can we do as a commission to
Okay.
get the ball rolling?
We already had that discussion in our budget hearings. That was kind of the whole idea of working at the senior center, and then the health department could take do whatever they gotta do and have them take a golf cart from point A to point B. We had that discussion. But I want to tell you that I was there twice today, as I told you. And there are openings in that parking lot.
And that's
They
why I
just
think it would be
choose
very
not
helpful.
to park there. They don't want to walk.
Closer
From the
points
s-
from A
yes.
to B.
And
Yes.
Vice Mayor,
So-
that's why I'm saying, I think, because there's concern out in the public, if we can have an agenda item, staff will bring us the information, the facts, the realities, what's going on.
I'll give you my video. You can use it.
And just put it on as an agenda item. What's that?
Could we just incorporate both of them, Outreach Way, and because there is parking on that, and what
And
we're
then the
doing with the
senior
parking
center
lots?
update?
Yes, what we're doing,
Okay.
yes.
Awesome.
If we could just do it in one package.
And what kind of coordination we've had with the health department with up to date would be really nice to know.
So do we have a
Or lack
consensus
of.
then to include and incorporate in the previous consensus about the parking situation? Okay, I'm getting the looks from the city attorney. Are you clear on what Mr. Schultz was?
Well, it doesn't matter what this is totally separate, doesn't really have anything to do with you,
Okay,
so
well,
just zone
Right,
out. Yeah,
right.
it's
This is
good.
just bringing them at the same time, to bring the item about the parking issue and the previous at the same time. Okay, we're all clear.
I don't think you have to, no, wait. You don't have to, the parking issue can be brought back, and the parking issue with the senior center, or the parking issue at the health department, and an update on the projected expansion of parking at the senior center is what we were talking about. Those can be, at the education center. Those can be discussed at the same time. But I wouldn't, I mean, you can do that at the next city meeting. I wouldn't wait for the discussion we had, the consensus we just took, because that could take a while. That could take a month to 2 months. That's going to take some research. So, I mean, to get a report on an update of the education center project for parking, as well as the problems with the health department and so on and so forth, that I would say at the next, most convenient meeting. Does that make sense?
I don't know, Mr. Schultz, the one that had
the
the idea
only-
of bringing
was
them
trying to
both
say.
at the same
The
time.
only reason I suggested that, because parking on Outreach Way is an issue, and ownership of that road and how that is treated and impacts the parking in the whole area is all combined. So it may be having to address what is done with Outreach Way, how that is addressed for future parking. Even though it's not our issue, we may be able to come up with some solutions as well as identify what we are doing, update on the parking.
I don't want to wait that long, but go ahead, it's up to you.
And you're still thinking you can have that in November, at the end of November, Mr. Schultz?
Well, I can have the update on the parking, and we can certainly get together with the city attorney and discuss the ownership of that roadway. I don't know how quickly, it's about a month.
Okay, City Attorney, you have your light on. So.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to establish realistic expectations regarding the timing of what the commission has asked in the consensus related to researching the factual history of the roadway and analyzing and bringing back cost estimates for approaches for dealing with the problem. I do not think that can be completed and brought back to the commission by the end of November because of the time invested in it, because of the internal deadlines. To get an item back to you by the end of November needs to be finished mid-November, and because of the fact that we have a special meeting on the charter, which there's a lot of work in my office to be done before we have that meeting. So I just want to be realistic with establishing expectations, because I certainly don't want to disappoint the commission. If the commission wanted to prioritize this, we would have to move some other things and put those on hold, in my office at least.
Thank you for sharing that. Commissioner McDowell.
Yeah, about the parking on Outreach Way at the Health Department. Hopefully when you come back with an update, it'll include some fixes with the Department of Health, because you're right, this is created by them, and we got to find a solution together. In the meantime, we've got the trees that are parked in that small area. I don't think they can park but maybe more than 3 or 4 cars there because of the parking with the road and then the parking lot entrance there. Is there, if it's unsafe and they're parking half in the road and half on the grass, and there's parking spots available in the parking lot where they can legally park, is there a way to keep them from parking by
I
the
think
trees?
I think that's what we need to have is let's go back to 2 separate consensus. We had the one. We'll have the second consensus that staff bring us back as soon as possible. Update on the situation there at the parking for the health center in that area, and bring that back as soon as possible. And then we can get into some of the options and bring us options that they may have. So we'll keep in as 2 separate things. Is that okay with everybody? We have a consensus for that?
Yes.
Okay. We're good? All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Now, let's get back to we're up to item number 4, consent agenda. Does anybody have anything to pull?
Yes. I'd like to pull C, please. I have 2 very quick questions.
Okay.
Move to approve the consent agenda for A, B, and D, pulling C for discussion.
Second.
The motion is stated by Commissioner Luke, seconded by Commissioner McDowell. And I just want to note on item number A, on the minutes, that those were as amended. So I just want to make that.
As amended?
As amended. There were amendments.
Yeah, there were several that were.
Yes. Okay, so just so everybody's clear on that, and please vote. And that is approved 5-0. Okay, so we removed item number C, so we are going to take item number 4C up, and Mr. Schultz.
Can I just say ditto from the last meeting on this item?
Yeah, I just,
And this
And
is
we'll
on,
just call up, yeah, we'll have,
There-
is Monica, are you going to address this?
and this is on the utilization of the State of Florida Department of Management Services Motor Vehicles contract to purchase 1 Ford C-Max and 1 Ford F-50 in the budgeted amount of $49,717.90 for the Public Works Department Operations and Maintenance Division.
And they're both 2018s.
All right, very good.
no.
Commissioner McDowell.
Could you please elaborate on what, and I think this is going to be for the Assistant City Manager. It says here the C-Max will be used primarily for administrative purposes. Could you please elaborate on to what that means?
Yeah, good afternoon, Monica Bramble, Assistant Public Works Director. We look at the vehicles in Public Works of how they're utilized, and when things get older, we try to rotate them to get the maximum life out of them. So what will happen is the new vehicle will be an administrative vehicle. It's one everybody around the office uses to come to these meetings, to go to seminars, to go look in the field. So it's not any one individual's vehicle, it's used by all the staff in
Like
Public
a pool
Works.
vehicle then?
Yeah, but a Public Works pool vehicle, correct.
All right, so the new F-150, it says that it will be heavily used by the operations manager, but the old vehicle was coded as light service. So could you please explain what is the heavy use of an operations manager?
Okay, and we're mixing the, okay. The operations manager will use this in the field. It's and daily. He's in his vehicle a large percentage of the time. That does not relate to, on the sheet, the service type. The service type has to do with how hard the vehicle is ran, what its service duty is. So this vehicle will still be a one service type. It's just he's going to use it heavily in the field. He's going to be out there in the field a lot of times, using it, having staff with him going around to all areas of the city.
Thank you. Oh, I thought I shut it off.
Vice Mayor.
Okay. My only problem is, have you checked into this C-Max? Have you looked at, I am not a fan of Ford cars, as someone who has owned two and now going through a recall of $3 million and a class action suit, which there are several class action suits against these vehicles. But the C-Max, understanding there are other cars that are equivalent to it. They may cost a little bit more, but not by much. And have you looked at the reliability? Because I haven't found a whole lot of good reviews on this C-Max, I have to tell you. So why are we going with it?
Okay, we want a vehicle, a smaller vehicle that gets good gas mileage. We do have an existing C-Max. We've had it for 2.5, maybe 3 years, and we've had no problems with it. It carries a lot of people or items. It's good gas mileage. We haven't had any maintenance or reliability issues with that. So just from experience, also, our fleet, we try to standardize. So we want a Ford product just because we have the parts, the knowledge to repair those types of vehicles.
So in other words, if you got a Toyota, you wouldn't have the knowledge or the
We would, parts-wise, we don't stock Toyota parts as much as we do the Fords. We get good pricing on.
It seems like that's all you buy is Fords, yeah.
Yes, again, for standardization purposes for the fleet, it does make it more efficient.
Because I have no problem with Ford trucks or even SUVs. I have a problem with Ford cars. They don't know what they're doing. They know how to make a truck. They know how to make an SUV. They don't know how to make a car. So my concern is that, in 3 years, we're going to be back here because there's so many problems with it, but. So.
All right.
I move to approve consent agenda 4C.
Do I have a second?
Do what?
I'll second. I'm not happy about it, but I'll second it.
Motion to approve consent agenda item C. And that is by Commissioner Luke and seconded by Vice Mayor. Could you please take the voting screen off? Thank you. I just wanted to see if anybody had any comments. Vice Mayor, do you have anything? Commissioner Luke?
I'm still trying, I mean, you know, there's other vehicles involved in this, and so I hate to deny it based on the fact that it's a Ford car. Let me think about it. I'm still up in the air.
I do have a comment.
Yeah.
We'll come back to you.
As the motion maker, I think having one in the fleet currently and that it has had no issue speaks a lot to your decision.
But it is only 2 years, right? It's only been 2 years or a year and a half?
Say going on,
Can you,
Okay.
going on 3 years.
It's going on its third year.
Okay.
Wait till those motor mounts start going.
Commissioner McDowell?
Yeah, obviously, I'm not supportive of this measure, and I'm going to be a broken record between now and the time that we have our meeting to discuss the score sheets and how vehicles are scored. So for that reason, I am not going to be voting for this or any vehicles in the future.
Yeah, this one was a little tough, and I appreciate the time. I did have a conversation with staff and going over the score sheets and learned some new things every time we have a conversation, constantly learning new ways of what it means, what these numbers mean. And, you know, I think when we have that conversation, we're going to come up with hopefully some helpful ways of communicating so that the picture we're getting is exactly what the reality is and what you're seeing. Because just by this information, I'm not comfortable with a lot of the stuff as we discussed previously. And in this case, I do see that we're going with from the 150 and the 4x4 to this C-Max, and I don't know. I'm just not comfortable. So I'm going to summarize that I'm not comfortable with what I'm seeing here. So it's kind of a tough one, yet from what staff explained to me over the phone as far as the conditions of the vehicle, these vehicles need to be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
So it puts us in an operational situation. So, and I know the score sheet doesn't necessarily say that when I'm looking at it because of the, you know, some of the things that are on here and the way it's interpreted. But from my conversation with staff and explaining and answering the questions in detail about these particular vehicles, I am going to support this, but I do not support, as you know, the scorecards we're getting, and I look forward to the conversation we're going to have and just helping us as far as this process.
They're not painting a
so-
true picture of the
Exactly.
vehicle.
Well, and one of the things too is you heard mentioned before, well, service type. And so it's 5, 3, and 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're looking at the information of the repairs and stuff like that, if a vehicle's not in for the shop constantly, whatever, there's not a whole lot of service repair.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that doesn't mean that.
Right.
That only means how that vehicle is used on a daily basis. It has nothing to do with the
service.
maintenance and the service records. So, you know, so like I said, it takes a lot of that conversation, and I think the scorecards can help us if we can have them to where we fully know that picture. So, again, I'm confident in getting into the details with you before this meeting that these vehicles need to be replaced, and I can't put it and jeopardize our operations until we fix whatever we can fix and improve upon as far as the reporting of this stuff. So for that reason, I am going to support this, but I just wanted to express myself that, you know, where I'm at on that issue. Commissioner McDowell.
Yeah, just to kind of hone in a little bit more on why I'm so anal about this, is the score sheet is showing that one of these vehicles is driven less than 700 miles a month on average. That's nothing. Its service is light duty. So, and then its reliability is listed as good. And we maintain our vehicles on a regular basis, and I'm confident our staff is maintaining these vehicles, and they're safe to be driven. The reliability is there, the condition is good. I can't justify replacing these. When you look at this information that's put out, there's nothing wrong with the vehicle to be replaced. And that's why I am constantly anal about these vehicles.
Okay, seeing no other comments now, can we have the voting screen? Okay, and please vote. And that is approved 4-1 with Commissioner McDowell dissenting for reasons stated. Okay. So we are through the consent agenda. There is still no public comment, and I don't think I have any other comments by commissioners nor charter officers. So seeing nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned.
We're ready, and it is 5:21.
All right. Good evening. We are still in the Commission chambers. It is Tuesday, October 24th, 2017, and it is 5:21 p.m. And I call this Solid Waste District Governing Body meeting to order. Present are Commissioner Hanks, Commissioner McDowell, Mayor Yates, Vice Mayor Carasone, Commissioner Luke, City Clerk Atkins, Deputy Clerk Pito, City Attorney Slayton, and Assistant City Manager Schultz. Also, Chief Esper is here with us. And first thing that we will do, and Vice Mayor has stepped out for a minute, so just want to note that for the record, and we need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner McDowell to approve the agenda, or yes, sorry, to approve the agenda, seconded by Commissioner Luke, and Vice Mayor's back, so for the record, please vote. And that is approved 5-0. Okay. Sorry, Vice Mayor, I wasn't sure if you'd be back in time for the vote.
Said I'm getting a sticky note.
I have a whole stack right here.
Are we gonna do that every time I get up? Because you're gonna be having a lot of conversation with yourself.
If there's a vote that's 4-0, I got.
Oh no, I'd be back.
All right. So seeing that there's no public comment, we are going to move on to item number 3A. And this is for ordinance number 2017-36. And I need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor to read ordinance number 2017-36 by title only, seconded by Commissioner McDowell. Please vote. And that is approved 5-0. City Clerk, please read by the ordinance by title only.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Ordinance number 2017-36, an ordinance of the City of Northport, Florida, amending the solid waste district budget for fiscal year 2016-17 by providing for supplemental appropriations in the amounts identified in Exhibit A, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you, City Clerk. Mr. Schultz.
Mayor and Commission, this is an ordinance for Solid Waste District to amend their 2016 fiscal year 2016-17 budget to add an additional $225,000 to their budget to cover the expenses incurred from fleet management for outsourcing, as well as those experienced as a result of Hurricane Irma. you have any questions, we have staff available.
All right. Commission, any questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll move that we continue ordinance number 2017-36 to the November 28th, 2017 Solid Waste District meeting for second reading.
Second.
A motion is stated by Commissioner McDowell, seconded by Vice Mayor. Commissioner McDowell, any comments? Vice Mayor?
Nope.
Okay. Just
Good
just
old
again,
Irma.
just again for public purposes, you know, we'll look forward to putting in for the reimbursement for the monies expended on the hurricane. So, and we'll hope to get that within the year. All right.
Good luck with that.
It's good to be hopeful, right? Positive thinking. Positive thinking.
Put it out.
Exactly. All right.
Want the realistic side?
No, let's vote.
That's
Yeah.
not positive.
It's realistic.
All right, and that is 5-0. I know the state is dealing with
When I-
everybody.
Went to email last week, they had discussed that some of the counties are still waiting from Hurricane Matthew, which was last year.
Yeah.
And there's no date of getting that reimbursement
Well,
in
I'll tell
sight.
you, if they don't do what they're supposed to do, I'll tweet about it. We'll put pressure on them.
And someone will ask for that public record.
Especially through my Twitter.
All right, so next we have the consent agenda. Anybody wish to pull anything? We only have one item on there.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Luke to approve the consent agenda as presented, seconded by Commissioner McDowell. Seeing no discussion, please vote. Commissioner McDowell.
I have to use
Press-
my muscles.
And that is approved 5-0. All right. Item number 5, no public comment. So moving on to commission or charter officers, any comments? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.